Hey everyone, it's Wade Franson back with another sneak peek into the Created in the Image of God show. This time it's for July 29th, and I have an amazing young man in the studio with me. It's Max Stossel, who is an award-winning artist named by Forbes magazine as one of the best storytellers of the year. And indeed, that is how I found him, with a little vignette that he did on YouTube or TikTok or one of these things the youngsters are using these days to tell their stories about two babies in a womb. And it blew me away. And I've since shared it in a number of situations. I can't believe I got him to be on the show with this old guy. Welcome to the studio, Max.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that story resonated.
Well, it did, and somehow we have this mystic connection because you live in Brooklyn, New York, and I live in Brooklyn, Wisconsin, and here we are. So tell me, Max, what led you to focus on that story? And I understood you did more with that story, or you'd already done more with that story before you put it out in an electronic format.
I find that story to be one of the best articulations of something that is so beyond articulating, which is the divine and God and life and what we're doing here. And I have always, since it was shared to me by my friend Alice Frank, who's a brilliant rabbi and storyteller in her own right, and I love that story and I share it all the time. And it's become the opening for this show about consciousness and life and death and my mom and psychedelics and love. And it now opens that show that I performed in New York for about a week, and I'm figuring out the next steps for. But it's a piece of art that I love very much. And yeah, it's just seems to touch a deep, intangible place, and I'm honored to pass it along to the world.
Well, I'm excited to spend an hour with you in the studio exploring, your relationship with your mother, the nature of that story. I have my own stories, as my audience knows, and I feel confident that I'm going to learn some things from having you in the studio. One of the things that you shared with me as we were just preparing to do this little sneak peek was that your mother told you there is no afterlife, we just rot in the ground forever. And that didn't, damage you permanently? How have you dealt with that, and how does that work out in your art and in your relationship with her?
She didn't frame it like that when I was young. When I was young, I think, and I asked about it, she got sort of very intense and was like, people believe all sorts of different things. Like, for me, the way I comfort myself is it wasn't bad before I was born. And I think it would be a lot like, before I was born is probably after we die. But then as an adult, as I have been bringing these ideas that we might be preparing for life after delivery, that there is a beyond or a God or a consciousness or reincarnation or whatever that might be. Now she says it like, sounds nice, Max, but I think we just rot in the ground forever. And so as adults, we can have that conversation more lightly.
A kinder, gentler nihilism.
Something like.
In any case, Max, it's a pleasure getting to know you here very briefly, and I'm very excited about the show that we're going to do together on July 29th. And to the audience, this is one you're not going to want to miss. I very much look forward to this. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I think you will too. So show up for the Creating the Image of God at 8 p.m. Central on July 29th with Max Stossel. See you there.